Most editing tutorials jump straight into the software. Click this, press that, but they lack the foundation. Without it, your workflow is messy and your editing can become a frustrating experience. Today, I'll show you the right way, thinking like an editor. So let's start by breaking things down into three key parts, okay? So number one, how to set up the project on your hard drive and build a scalable system. Number two, how to set up the project inside the editing software of your choice, whether it be Premiere, DaVinci Resolve, or whatever you prefer. And number three, how this approach can really help you maximize your creativity when the real editing begins. When I start a new project, the first thing I do is create a folder structure. Project, where I save the project file. Audio, where everything sound-related goes, like music, ADRs, sound effects, voiceovers, etc. Footage, where the raw footage from the camera is stored. Contributes, an additional folder for elements like the script, the black bars, the font, After Effects projects, whether they are motion graphics or VFX. And output, this is where all the final exports go. This is a set it and forget it system. You can always create a template on your hard drive and copy-paste it each time you start a new project. Quick side note, I cannot stress enough how important codec uniformity is. When I say codec uniformity, I mean that everything in your project should be in the same format. This reduces the stress on your system, making it less prone to lagging, slowing down, or crashing. For audio, you go for broadcast wave, 48 kHz, 16-bit. For video, you can use any format you like, but if you see the system is struggling and lagging, just go for the proxies. And for still images, always choose a video-friendly format like PNG or TGA. You avoid the JPEGs and keep the resolution lower or equal to the footage resolution. The big advantage of having a system like this in place is that as the projects are piling up, you will have an easy-to-search archive. This will keep your workflow efficient and will save you a lot of time. Alright, and now back to the video. To set up the project, we will apply the concept of redundancy. We'll mirror the folder structure inside our hard drive, so everything in the editing software looks almost identical. This is crucial, because during this process, you're training your brain to recognize a pattern. When it's time to start editing, you will then focus more on the creative process, rather than wasting time searching for that shot that before was unimportant, but now it's essential. So, here is how I set up my projects. First, AE. This is where all the renders coming from After Effects are stored. Audio. As we did on the hard drive, this is where all the audio files are organized into subfolders, such as music, sound effects, voiceovers, etc. Footage. This is where all the raw files coming from the camera are stored. Contributes. This is a place for all the additional elements of your project, such as still images, logos, but also adjustment layers, matte, and finally, sequences, where all my timelines are organized. Now let's focus on sequences, since this is the folder where proper organization really pays off. Inside this folder, I create a few key subfolders. This is where my main timeline lives. Every day I create a duplicate, I update the date, and continue working. A storage space for older versions of the main timeline. Here I place my timelines where I lay out raw footage into string outs and highlight the best shots. Rough cuts, a folder for experimental edits. Let's say you're working on a YouTube video with B-rolls. This is where you will store the different edit variations of those b-rolls, so you can refer back to them later in the process, like a sort of a catalog, and immediately see in the edit which one works best. This is where I store timelines destined for other departments, like VFX, audio mixing, or color grading. Now you might be asking, how these first 2 chapters work in a real-life scenario? So let's start the clock and see also how long it takes to prep everything for work. I've just started this channel, so first let's create a main folder called Think Like an Editor. Next, let's make a subfolder for the year, 2025. Now we're building an archive that will serve for many videos to come, so let's keep it neat and tidy. Now let's create a folder for today's episode. Inside this, we'll create all our subfolders: project, audio, footage, contributes, AE, and output. We use numbers in front so the folders stay in the right order. If we made a template, then it's just a matter of copy-paste, and bam! In seconds, we're ready to go. For this project, I've already selected some music and recorded a voiceover, so let's place them in the right folder. Now, the footage. And finally, let's create the project. Premiere has a handy template drop-down menu, so you don't have to redo the setup each time. See? It didn't take that long, and now you have a rock-solid system in place to build your edit. And this brings us to the final point of this video, which is I've been a professional editor for almost 20 years, and to me the act of editing has nothing to do with the mechanical process. It's all about emotions and finding the most efficient way to tell a story. That's why I think it's so important to approach every project with this mindset. Do the prep work, the tedious work, the asset management, and hold off the urge to dive right into editing. Once you've done that, the minute you will start tackling your edit, you will notice the difference. Yes, it still will be complex, but you will be focused on telling the story, not wasting time searching for this or that, or dealing with crashes because you're still using a still image that's big as the moon on your timeline. This tiny little thing has always been a game changer for me, especially when I started. I knew nothing about the craft, but I understood how to set up the system, and not having to worry constantly about the technical stuff really allowed me to grow up as an artist. That's it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I have the second part of this video coming next week, where we will dive deep into project organization, how to select the best shots, all the techniques, and much more. So before you go, don't forget to like and subscribe to support this channel, and I'll see you in the next video.